Noubar, I'd like to switch gears a bit and move from the vaccine and your professional career a bit to your personal inspiring story, which is also pretty impressive. You are Lebanese Armenian. You moved out of Lebanon when you were 13. Is this correct?
Yes, it is. I left in 1975 with my family.
And why did you leave back then?
Well, look, we had an idyllic life in Beirut. All my memories in childhood are in Beirut. Beirut was a great place to be, physically, the society, and everything about it. But unfortunately, whenever you have idyllic places, conflicts arise. And every few years, there would be some type of a conflict. And in 1975, the civil war in Lebanon broke out. And in the beginning, we all thought it was another passing thing. But already by the middle of the year, it became clear that this could be a very long-term conflict. And my father and mother decided that we're three brothers, that we really shouldn't take the risk of being there for many years when schools are closed and life is difficult. And so we basically made the decision, tough decision, left everything behind, left his business behind to move to Montreal. And I was grateful that Canada actually took us in as basically political refugees. Basically, we left the country under kind of warlike conditions, but very much formative years in Beirut, and a big part of my culture is Lebanese.
What did you keep from that culture? Like, I don't know, tell me a bit more. Have you been to Lebanon recently? What kind of memories do you have? Tell me a bit about that.
Yes, it's funny. We're a small family, because Armenians, many Armenian families have been basically massacred to the point where the only surviving people are 10, 20 people. There's, I think, maybe 20 people that are named Afeyan in the world. We were a much bigger family. And so, we were reborn basically in Beirut. My mother's family, my father was not born in Beirut. He was born in Bulgaria, and he immigrated when the communist regime came. So, if you go back, every Armenian, probably every Lebanese, has some story of why they got chased from one place to the other. We were the product of that. But, look, basically, Armenians in Lebanon are an amalgam of both cultures. And there's a very distinctly Lebanese version of Armenian, that where you see the joie de vivre in their life, you see the optimism, you see the tendency to celebrate, the kindness. All of those things are almost, I'd say, to a maximum in Lebanon. That's how I grew up. So, those were very fond memories. And the fact that we immigrated and the fact that we had to leave all that behind probably instilled a sense of trying to keep a piece of it in what I do going forward. And so, there's a lot of things that continue to be part of my life, whether it's music. My friends, most of my friends in Boston are Lebanese Armenians or Syrian Armenians. Of course, I have also Lebanese friends. So, it's just more familiarity, I would say. And then the rest, as I mentioned, about just this culture of resilience coming out of sheer optimism.
With all the political turmoil happening in Lebanon and the economic collapse that I'm sure you know about, do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? I'm less familiar with the Lebanese political situation, but I am familiar that it's been very, very hard to get agreement on anything. And unfortunately, I think that is the biggest obstacle. By the way, that problem is increasingly the case in the US. It's increasingly the case in another country that I spent a lot of effort on, which is Armenia. And so we're in a period where it's harder and harder to agree. Maybe social media is causing that, because people keep hearing over and over what they believe, because they've been surrounded by the voices they believe, and so they think they're right suddenly, as opposed to when everybody was the minority because they had no idea who agreed with them. Lebanon needs, and many other countries, for transformation, need people who choose destinations over directions. And I think that will give me more confidence, not just optimism, that we could be on a better path. And everything I'm saying to you equally applies to other places. A generation ago, basically, people aspired to get jobs, get professions, and that was the best you could do. So, of course, the entrepreneurial spirit has always been there in the Middle East as it relates to trade. My father was in the trade business, and that the businessman in the Middle East often was viewed as that, especially in Lebanon. Of course, in other countries where there's natural resources, it's a bit different. But now you have a new generation, certainly the generation after mine, that has available to it a completely new profession, which is called entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, as you know, the root of the word is entreprendre. is to undertake something. So take initiative, believe you can do it, be willing to fail, but then success should find you. And I think that that is a completely new profession, not a hobby, not a way to make money quickly, but a profession. And I think that the youth in the Middle East definitely can dedicate themselves to learning, getting better at, practicing, and ultimately using it as their economic ticket to creating a better society. And then what you do with the rewards that you earn is a measure of your kind of morals and your ideals. And I think one of the other things is that all of the entrepreneurs who are benefiting from the availability of this new approach should go back and help the countries and the cultures that they're from so that other people have opportunity. And certainly in my case, I've been doing that for some period of time. Of course, Armenia is also a highly needy country, and after the Soviet Union, I spent quite a bit of time trying to help there, and I've seen how the youth that choose this path basically can change the country. And so I would encourage people not to be hesitant. Innovation is a form of immigration. It's an immigration in thought. And one of the things that countries can do is actually choose to immigrate without leaving the country. And the only way you can do that is if you change the country. So you either go to another country or you change your country so it becomes another country, and so you don't have to leave it. Immigration is a tool that you could use for progress either way. And I think that for the majority in a country, the availability of leaving the country is not there and certainly is not ideal for the country. But people, leaders, adopting an attitude of immigrating to a better place, to a better future, that I think is every bit as much an opportunity and excitement. And it has not been possible in the past without entrepreneurship, but it is today.
Speaking of immigration, we live in a time with a lot of anti-immigration rhetoric. We may even call it immigrant phobia. What message do you have to the communities that still fear immigrants?
Well, it is the case, especially in the U.S. I ended up coming into the U.S. for my education, but I always grew up with the ideal of the U.S. being a melting pot. And I like that idea a lot in the sense that while cultures and ethnicities make us different, we need to try to have a commonality. Otherwise, we're simply going to be constantly judged by our differences, not by our contributions. And I think that is a standard that is being a little bit lost in the U.S. And I hope that it recovers over time and everywhere else as well. I think, look, immigrants make countries. And I think that countries that don't have any immigrants often over time somewhat deteriorate. So I think we need to be both on the receiving end of things. I mean, look, Charbel, I'll tell you a personal fact and a memory. Lebanon's immigration laws were such that my father, who immigrated in Lebanon, could not get a Lebanese passport because he was not born there. I was born in Lebanon with no Lebanese passport because my father was not born there. Those are arcane laws that should be replaced so that anybody who wants to immigrate to Lebanon or any other country can do that, recognizing that that's what's going to cause the country to constantly be renewed. And because people who come someplace bring with them hope and determination and risk appetite. People who leave a place take it somewhere else. So there are some things we should do as well to just open up a bit to this. Of course, there's concerns because if refugees come and the country cannot support them, but we have to be clever about this.
Okay, speaking of Lebanon, I know that you still speak a bit of Arabic. Is this correct? Let me test you today. So, بعدكم تحكوا عربي بالبيت؟
مش بالبيت بس فيني احكي شوية.
ومع العائلة مع الأصحاب مع مين بتحكي أكثر شيء عربي؟
مع أصحاب بس هيك. Super hard to do for me in a formal setting.
No worries.
But next time when I'm in the music hall, I can have a drink or two that I can speak with you.
Before we close this interview, can we know what are the next steps for the vaccine? So now it has to be approved by the FDA and some medical authorities as well?
Yes, in each country, mainly countries, the regulatory authorities have to review the file. And once they approve it, then the supplies begin to happen. And hopefully in the US, that can happen already by the end of the year. Inshallah.
Awesome. Inshallah. Great news. And inshallah, we'll be back to the Middle East soon for visits and maybe for more sustainable business, I would say, on the longer term, and to see friends and families who I'm telling you are very, very proud of you. By the way, you've been the talk of the town in the region for a while. Social media, all the news reports are all about the big success you made, about Noubar, about Moderna, and we're really proud of all those achievements. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you again very soon. Thank you.